Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Film with Friends. Of course, you know me. I'm your host, Nick Yee, and I decided I'd let you guys in on the kind of the secret behind my creative process today. Um, no crazy antics or anything, no funny business. Today is just 100%, unfiltered me, right? And of course, I'm Nick Yee, the host of Film with Friends. So yeah. Here I am, right? Film with friends. There's a lot of thought that goes into this show afterwards. Usually that's where I put like a rim shot type sound effect. But actually I have my all my desktop audio. Desktop, by the way, means computer, in case you don't know what that is, muted. So I can listen to some music to help calm me down, because it's really it's like I'm looking at a vampire in the mirror right now, except of course you can't see them. Um, or rather, they don't appear in mirrors. But in order to get through this, I kind of have to have something on, right? In order to be natural. I don't know if this ever happens to you guys, but you're talking with someone that you don't know super well, let's say, and you just kind of nothing's wrong, but you just kind of feel like you're not saying the right thing. What I like to do in those situations, and what usually tends to happen, is I'll imagine Elden Ring gameplay, specifically related to Ordovis's greatsword. I don't know why. I think because I've been playing Night Rain recently, and that kind of helps me take my mind off what I'm saying. Because it's just like anything in life, right? 9 times out of 10, it doesn't really matter what you do as long as you do something. So as long as I'm just kind of, I mean, you're not gonna have a hit every time, right? You're talking to somebody. So as long as you just keep talking, but measured in a measured way, it'll work out. I didn't realize how asymmetrical my eyes were. I think that's something I notice every time I look at myself for an extended period of time, which I don't because I'm a humble person. Um, oh yeah, but this is Film of Friends. Yeah, so there's been, as you may have been able to tell, there's been quite a hiatus from the show, and I've just kind of been taking that time to, I don't know, do whatever, do nothing essentially. So, needless to say, I'm very pleased to be back. Also, you'll have to excuse me, I'm eating some cereal. Um, yeah, just wanted to let you guys in on what's going on in my life, what's going on in the world of film. Probably already know, or maybe not. I can never tell how many people actually care about movies at a given time. I don't know. Can anyone tell? No one has their hand on the pulse of every person, right? I mean, finger. Sorry, excuse me. If you can have the finger on your pulse, finger on the pulse of Generation Z, Generation Alpha, Gen X, Millennials, Boomers, you can't really get all of them anymore. That goes into my theory about how our culture is fractured. But of course, that's probably a cold take at this point. Ice cold. Cold as this milk. Forgot what I was talking about. All right. Well, I should say I just see the new F1. For those of you wondering, I'm going to enter in my spoiler section here. So, editor, please put spoiler text on there. It's funny. Saying editor is funny when you look at the setup of what's going on. Um, oh yeah, spoilers for F1. Um, it was okay. I don't know. Here's the thing. I like all these old guys, right? I like old people in general to a certain extent, but you know, I'll just say this: when you're on the poster, you're on every poster. I mean, there's a couple. All the posters. At my theater, the only poster was him, and the only name really on there was him, Brad Pitt. We're talking about. When you're the only one on the poster, you're the main character. You executive produced or produced the movie, whatever. Um, you really need to win everything, right? I mean, he's likable enough, I guess, to make you think, oh, he deserves this, but you at least have to die after you. Spoiler alert: he wins at the end of the race, the big race in Vegas. Uh, I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but Joseph Kosinski, of course, also did Top Gun Maverick, another geezer pleaser. I think that's geezer teaser. I was like, well, not quite geezer teaser, a little more well made than that. But let's say this: for F1, the race sequences were very action packed and enjoyable. Those were entertaining. I like those better than Top Gun Maverick scenes where, I mean, in this too, this was a better blend of real stunt driving and CGI. Top Gun, I mean, you can't, it's indistinguishable for me. In a bad way, right? Where I can't, it seems like everything's CGI. Especially the ending. But I digress. I mean, I always get more enjoyment out of watching Jackie Chan, let's say. Whatever you think about Jackie Chan. Someone else. Jet Li, Donnie Yen, back in the day, talking about pre CGI, punch somebody, they go through a stairway, go through glass. I'll always enjoy that. My Three Stooges, I'll always enjoy that infinitely more than anything CGI related, unless it's some kind of amazing monster or science fiction element. I would say I want to hear that role all the time. I'd say 80% of the time that's true, but I digress. So I saw the new F1. Mm. I was crying over spilled milk. What else? Oh yeah. Um, Tomorrow I see Superman, and I know what you're thinking already. Oh, whoa, kind of a shill, aren't you? I mean, you're this is I'm talking as you to me. Even though you're my friend, right? 'Cause that's the name of the show. Um, you've always been kind of a comic book hater. Actually, you probably wouldn't say that because I feel like I'm pretty measured in my reviews of these things. Here's the thing. Everyone around me seems to think I hate comic book movies. It's not. It's just not true. What they do is cherry pick the ones that they really like that I only kind of like or don't really like. In reality, I've seen tons of comic book movies, and most of them are fine. 90% of them are fine. It's only a couple that really stink. Um, well, I'd say not 90% of them are fine. Yeah, they're fine. I don't like the idea of hating anything, okay? Well, kind of. I mean, you should hate, well, that's sort of a more complex topic than I'm used to talking about on Film with Friends, but you know, any movie really is a learning experience, F1 included, right? And there are certain trends you can pick up on and say, I don't like that. I mean, I don't really like what this represents, but filmmaking, it's not a single person effort, right? There's so much work that goes into it, so much to appreciate in almost every single movie, right? So you shouldn't really hate most movies unless it's like, The Triumph of the Will, right? Birth of a Nation, right? Um, what was I just talking about? Oh yeah, so F1. Oh no, not F1. That's Superman. And comic book movies. You know, they're fine. Most of them are fine. Okay, I don't hate them at all. I don't hate them at all. So I'm gonna see Superman tomorrow, and this is one of the first movies in a long time I've been genuinely excited for. I should say major movies. I don't find a lot of excitement in my life in general nowadays. That's not a bad thing. It's just because I like to keep things pretty even keeled. Let's say. So my philosophy's always been if I were to die tomorrow, right? Would I be okay with that? If the answer is yes, then I feel like I'm doing a pretty good, okayish job at life, I guess. But I don't know. It's hard balance, right? Because you want to feel some genuine excitement for something. So I've been kind of attempting inwardly to build myself up for Superman because it's been a while since I've seen a crowd pleasing movie that's not only well executed but also is fun and enjoyable. Usually those things are exclusive, right? It's either a movie that's really well made but not that fun, like an art house film, for instance, or 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 something that's kind of fun and entertaining but not necessarily well made. James Gunn's a filmmaker that usually can kind of blend both. At least with the Guardians movies. I mean, stuff before that was a little over budget, but Slither, Super, whatever. All the way back to I think Tromeo and Juliet. He was working for Troma. Just to tell you everything. Guy starts at Troma, now he's the head of DCU. I have some faith. I have some faith. Although international markets apparently are not all about the Superman train. But I don't know. I don't know what that's indicative of. More that they hate superheroes, they hate Superman, or there's something bigger in the climate. Who knows? That being said, I've only heard good things so far about Superman, so looking forward to it, and look forward to that episode too, because that's going to be a big one. This determines the future of the DCU. Now is where I put the glass, the vase breaking sound effect, because that's huge, right? Earth shattering. That's where we'll go. I don't know if this should be a recorded thing or like a live thing, and I don't really know how to do live. I've never been on Twitch. I don't really play games. Well, I play a lot of games. I'm just not good at them. And it's hard for me to talk during a game because I feel like when I play, let's say League, for instance, and I'm in a game. Here's the thing about League: when you play in Summoner's Rift, right, which is kind of the main. It's not a mode. There's a lot of modes that use the Rift. If when you're on that map, let's say, 9 times out of 10, when you're not in Swift play, oh my gosh, okay, quick play or it's not quick. Is there even quick play? Draft pick, which is what all my friends play. What we all play. The game can go up to like 40 minutes to an hour at the max, right? And if you're not doing well, it's more than a fighting game where you just kind of lose and then that's it. You just move on. When you're not doing well in a League game, it feels like an extended death, right? Of course, I have no idea what death feels like. I'm not one of those people who's been, struck by lightning and I saw heaven and came back. I would have stayed there. Because it's heaven, right? You'd want to be there. Uh, oh yeah, but okay, yeah. But yeah, when you're playing League and something's not going right for you, even if your team is doing well, you just kind of feel like you're alone in life, right? Because there's no one who understands what you're going through in that moment. Because everyone else around you is successful and you're just kind of sitting there stagnant. Kind of a good metaphor for a lot of people, including myself. We'll see if this ever reaches the air. I don't know. I don't know if you guys ever get this. You ever get the feeling that, you know, you can do things, and you want to do things for about 5 minutes out of the day. And the other 9,100 billion minutes, you just want to do nothing. I don't know. I don't know if the food angle is really so great. It's kind of getting a little soggy. Usually, because I'm also an actor, see my website here for the real um, actor, comedy actor. And I will say this before I get any further. I could be the next Curly Howard. I'm not quite that level. I have to be on more things. But for those out there looking for a stooge, I'm pretty good, okay? Physical comedy, I'm pretty good. Okay, that's one thing I will say about myself. Um, yeah, the Curly Howard, because you don't know. He was Curly, Three Stooges, often considered the best stooge, a natural comedian. I think that's what Larry said, is that he was just so great because he never had any training. He was just naturally funny. I think that's something I can bring to that sort of a role of a stooge. So, Hollywood, look out. Or don't. Romania, look out. Because Hollywood is a, you know, dumpster fire. Oh, he's crying over spilled milk. This is going far better than I thought it would. I don't know. I always feel like I do better talking to myself than I do talking about other people. Or talking to other people. Maybe that's indicative of a larger problem. I don't know. This show's about film, right? Hmm. Should let you all know. I've got a big thing coming up. Actually, hold on a second. Before I even say that, I'm looking at the time. There's a timer at the bottom of OBS. This is what I'm using, by the way. In case anyone wants to copy me in the future when this blows up. And I have an Issa Rae style blow up. I'm using OBS. I of course have a webcam. I used to have a really ultra wide webcam that was pretty cheap. That might be funnier, even if you're doing this for comedy purposes. I have a mic, a Rode Mic Go 2 or something like that. You don't really need a great mic, although it helps. As you can see, the background doesn't matter. Why am I talking like this is going to become popular, successful? I'll do that when that happens. But for now, I'm gonna cut this out 15 minutes. I feel like that's a good time, right? So I'll see you guys. I don't know, whenever.